there is nothing worse than that feeling you get when somebody calls you, texts you, or visits you, or whatever, like whatever the case may be, and tells you you should probably get an STD test. If that's never happened to you, words can't describe that embarrassment, that, I don't know, emptiness that hits your stomach, that uncertainty, that you're not really mad, but you don't really know what to do. Nothing can describe that. So let me tell you my experience with getting an STD test. And before I start that, just know that STDs are actually really quite popular nowadays. Something like 9 out of 10 people have one and probably don't even know it. So, I mean, if you're sexually active and you've had multiple partners within the last couple of years, you should probably get a test. They're really not bad. But anyway, my experience with an STD test. So, I go in to a free clinic that does STD tests, and the place doesn't open when it says it's opened. So I wait about 10 minutes. Maybe they're running late. Nobody shows up. So I call the health board to see where else I can go, and they actually give me the location of where I'm at. So I tell them I'm sitting there and it's not open. And then they call the place. Still not. They're saying they're open, but there's obviously no one there. So I get on Google and I look for the next closest place. And I go there. And that place says they do not do STD tests, but I have to go to another place, which happens just to be like right around the corner from them. Not bad. So I go there, and they say they do not do walk-in STD tests, only appointments, and or if you want to get tested for HIV, they can do a walk-in on that. So they give me some phone numbers to call, and the first phone number I call, they say the nurse practitioner is not at that facility, and she is at a different county. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go 2 hours out of my way for that. So I call the next number. The next number says they only do X amount of appointments a day. And the best time to get in is to call in the morning. So they tell me to call the next morning at like 8 o'clock in the morning to see if I can get in out of that X amount that they do. I say, okay, yeah, I'll do that. And I don't. I just call the next number. And so they tell me to come on in. I can make it within the next 40 minutes. I can get seen. So I fly there. Not fly there, but, you know, I jet there in my car like fucking Speedy Gonzales or fucking Turbo McQueen. And when I get there, it's the fucking county courthouse, and I'm just looking like, where the fuck am I? What is this? And is this going to be like trial by fire or some shit? Like, what the hell? I thought I was going to a health center. And no, the health center is inside of the courthouse on a different floor. And whoa. So I go and I fill out the papers and I sit down and I wait. And that's cool or whatever. I go back, and the first nurse that sees me, she tells me I need to go and pee in a cup. And I just like ecstatically said, thank God I've had to pee for like the last hour. And so she gives me the cup and tells me to go and fill it up. And I shit you not, I'd peed for probably about 10 minutes. I had a pee-gasm. I was like banging on the wall like, oh God, She probably thought I was passing like a fucking kidney stone or jerking off or something. But so I fill up the cup and I still have to piss, so I'm just pissing in the toilet. Once I'm done, wow, I sounded retarded there. Once I finish peeing, I open the door and I go out and I look at her and I was like, am I supposed to wash my hands? And she looks at me and she's just all like, yes, dear, you're supposed to wash your hands. I was all like, oh, well, I mean, I've taken plenty of drug tests and they always tell you not to wash your hands or flush the toilet. And she's just all like, no, dear, you do both. And so I felt like a tard, but yeah, washed my hands, flushed the toilet, whatever. This nurse is fucking like 2'0", and she goes to take my weight and height, and she can't see how tall I am, so I had to like verbally tell her, hey, I'm 6 foot, legally like 5'11", but yeah, I'm 6 foot. I'm like 6'1" almost, and she just laughs and writes that down, puts down my weight, and takes me back to the room, does the verbal exam thing, asking me about all the sexual partners I've had recently and how many I've had in like a month, 2 months, 10 years, 3 years, the kind of sex I've had, all kinds of stuff like that. Very invasive, but you know, it's an STD test, so I'm not going to lie about it. I'm not going to bullshit. I'm going to tell them what's up, what it did. If I ate a girl's asshole, then, you know, they want to know that shit. So I tell her all that, and first question out of her mouth is, have I ever had an HIV test? And I was like, no, I have not. Obviously, the first part of the questions were, have I ever had an STD test? And yeah, I said no, this is the first one. So she gets out this kid and she's all like, you're about to get an HIV test today. And I was just all like, oh God. Ooh. Did I say something to alarm you that, you know, I'm going to have like HIV or something? Am I Magic Johnson somehow? And it's not bad. It's like this little like square blood bath tube container thing. You prick your finger. If you're a diabetic, it's pretty much the same process where you prick your finger, you take this little tube thing, you suck some blood in, you put the blood on this like square hole thing, or no, you put it in a jar, you mix it up, then you put that formula in on this little hole thing in the square, and then you put some blue liquid in it, and then it drains, and then you put some white or clear liquid in it, and then you're supposed to look for a dot or 2 dots. If those show up, then you don't have HIV, and it takes all of like 3 minutes to do. So I don't have HIV. And I'm sitting there like looking at it, and she's all like, what do you think? I'm so like, I don't know what I'm looking for. There's nothing there. Like, the liquid's gone. And she's like, no, you're supposed to look for dots. I was like, oh, okay. So she gets done with that, and then she's all like, the next part is I need to draw some blood. And she's looking at my arm, trying to find some blood. She's all like, have you ever done any intravenous drugs? No. Have you... asking me all this like drug history as she's trying to find a vein, and she's just all like, you know what, you have really hard veins to find. And I'm like pointing above where the rubber band strap thing is, and I'm like, well, here's a good vein. And she's like, no, you can't go above it, you got to go below it. I'm so like, okay, but there's a vein. And so she's sitting there digging around, and then I'm just all like, hey, I mean, my hands are pretty veiny, you can use that. And then she stops, she's like, have you ever gotten blood out of your vein, or out of your hands before? And I was all like, oh yeah, I probably should have mentioned back when I was like a kid, I had acne really bad, and I was on some antibiotics, and I had to test my kidneys like every 6 months or whatever, and the nurse always had problems finding my veins. So I do know like here is a good spot on me, and my hands are a good spot. And then she went into like her learning how to be a phlebotomist and teaching other nurses where her veins are, because she has hard veins too. And then she finds my vein, and she takes like 20 vials. I don't know, it's probably like 4 or 5 or whatever, but I'm just sitting there when she's done, like, I don't have any blood left. What's going on? Like, how much blood do you need? And it was probably like 4 vials, to be honest. But yeah. So she leaves, and she says, the doctor will be in a little bit to see you. And here's where the story gets really fucked up. I shit you not. The doctor comes in, and she looks at the chart, and I look at her, and we make this eye contact, and this is a girl that I used to date in, like, college. And it was one of those, oh, fuck, moments. And, like, in her face, it was all like, you're here for an STD test? What the fuck? What the fuck? I need to stay professional. And I'm just sitting there like, this is really fucking awkward. So she tells me to pull down my pants, and she's like testing around my private areas. She's like grabbing on my balls. She's like fucking jerking me off and like punching me in the kidneys, asking me if anything feels uncomfortable or tender. And I'm just all like sitting there in my head thinking like, don't get turned on, don't get turned on, do not get turned on, do not get turned on. This would end up really bad. And I was like, no, everything feels fine. Yeah, how's it feel down there to you? Does it feel the same? What do you think? Then she continues to tell me to bend over, and I'm just like, whoa, this is now getting really awkward. And she's just all like, you're getting some shots. And she gave me like 4 shots in the ass, and then she sent me home. And so that's my story. The first time I had an STD test, the doctor ended up being a girl I used to bang, and it made it really fucking awkward, but not really. And I didn't get a Q-tip in my dick. A lot of people hear that, and that didn't happen. I pretty much gave all my blood though, and I got some shots, and I laughed.